Shalom, it's Rabbi Rudin on a Sunday morning here at synagogue. I wanted to share our series on why do we blow the shofar, or what are some of the many meanings of the shofar. And it's important to realize that even though the meanings that we're sharing were created by or discovered by Rabbi Saadia Gaon, it does not mean that he has exhausted the reservoir of meaning in this amazing ritual. Maybe one of the most ancient in the whole world and most meaningful. So today's reason, number 3, is that at Mount Sinai, the first time the shofar is sounded in the Torah is actually the shofar on Mount Sinai. And hearing that shofar being blown and with no one visible blowing it, and the tradition says that it was a divine shofar. It was a God calling, God's call. So hearing the shofar is hearing God's call. So when does God call us? Well, I think that's an answer that anyone every Jew who's brought up in our tradition knows that God's call appears to us in many, many different ways. It could be in the eyes of a child. It could be in someone reaching out to us. It could be in a word of Torah that you hear, or a sudden rush of wonder when you encounter something beautiful and powerful and meaningful to you. So sometimes we only recognize God's call afterwards. But I think the point of the shofar is just as we hear the shofar and try to train ourselves to hear God's call, as God calls in every single life, to attune ourselves to hearing the call, hearing the sense of this is something that I have a moral imperative, I have a spiritual imperative, this is something that is given to me to do. In the book by Shneur Zalman of Vladi, Likutei Torah, he speaks about davening, praying, as sending a connection, opening ourselves up for connection. And the shofar is God calling to each of us. So let us, each of us, seek to hear the shofar, to hear God's call, the call to meaning, the call to action, each in our own lives. Shana Tova U'Mituka, a meaningful and sweet new year of health, peace, and blessing.